It's the Premium Pete Show.
Yo, I'm Kurtis Blow. I bet you didn't know I bust these type of flows. I've been bumping since you was a youth of minor. On TV and touring Europe and China. I bet you couldn't find a equivalent to the originator on any side of the equator. I'm not stating that I'm greater, but I fade a crew or two. The KBLOW. So what you gonna do? I came through to make it hot for y'all. Dopest MC I bet you ever saw. No drama. Ask your mama. Just in case you all forgot, about to hit you with the old school sure shot and hot to rock a spot like hip hop, the hip hop, the hip hop. You don't stop rocking to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the boogie the boogie.
The one and only Kurtis Blow. Internets, welcome back to another episode of the Premium Pete Show. Sitting down here with let me tell you something. When you think about this thing called hip hop, okay, to me it's a puzzle, Kurtis. It's a puzzle. And when it's all said and done, you're a big piece of that puzzle.
Oh, thank you.
That's real talk, man. This is a puzzle. And, maybe we put this piece of the puzzle has Cool Herc. This piece of the puzzle has Chuck D.
Right.
This piece of the puzzle has Heavy D.
Right.
B.I.G. You understand?
That's a great analogy, man. You got to actually put the puzzle together to get the full picture of the creation, the genesis of the birth.
There's already a dropping gems. What the hell's going on here? Listen, Kurtis, you were born in Harlem's own, right?
Yes. A place called Harlem is my home.
Where about in Harlem?
Up next to City College, actually 140th Street. I live 10 blocks, a half a mile north of Kool Moe Dee.
Oh, really?
Where he's at 129th Street, Convent. I'm 140th Street in Convent.
Now, did you have a relationship at a young age or later on?
Well, we knew each other before records. We have some mutual friends. I have a B-boy buddy. His name is Billy Bill. Billy Bill actually went on to become one of my greatest writers. He wrote Basketball and 8 Million Stories,
really?
Games People Play, Hard Times, My buddy from back in the days, right? We were breakdancers at teenagers. And so he introduced me to Greg and Charlie, who lived on that block, 130th Street, and that's where I met Kool Moe Dee. And Spade 130 is a great legendary graffiti artist from that neighborhood as well. Also, the Treacherous Three,
sure.
L.A. Sunshine. Sure. I actually went to elementary school with his older brother.
Really?
His older brother and my older brother were friends.
It's so funny when you mention all that shit. It's like so much. Like that just shows how much culture New York City has. Mm-hmm. You talk about graph. You talk about b-boy. You talk about hip hop.
Right.
Like think about all the fucking shit that you're talking about that was happening at that time.
Right.
Now it's like I asked you before we started the show. I was like, yo, you said you're living in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
As a young kid living in Harlem,
right?
Did you ever think that you get that sunshine in L.A. to be shining on you when you wake up in the morning? Honestly,
man, it was a dream. It was just a dream. I'm gonna tell you, back in those days, we just wanted to have fun. It was something that we wanted to do to pass the time away because there were so many other things in our hood, in our society that was like plaguing the kids during that time. We had the drug wars of Frank Lucas and Nicky Bonds and all of that.
Did you come across them?
Oh, man, come on. These guys...
Allegedly. I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't know what the statute of limit is. Kurtis Blow was running with Nicky Bonds.
I went to elementary school with the sons of Frank Lucas. I'm thinking, they still deny that they're his sons. But Gregory Lucas, Reggie Lucas, and DeJuan Lucas were in my elementary school, and I remember these guys. And there was a guy named Gregory Lucas who was the star of the basketball team, and all the girls loved him. They had these big afros. They were half Puerto Rican and half black, and the girls loved them. And I always wondered, why do they dress so nice? Why? Because their dad had a whole lot of money. But these guys are still denying that they're his sons.
When the Lucas family, man. When you look back at Harlem and you look back at your young, is there certain memories that stick with you forever?
A lot of bad memories, a lot of good memories. yes. But memories nonetheless. I would love to talk about the good ones.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, just being around in my neighborhood and, growing up with all of the people in the hood. You know how they say it takes a whole neighborhood to raise a child.
Sure, absolutely.
So that's what it was growing up. And those are the fun times, walking up the block from Convent Avenue to Amsterdam Avenue. And everybody on the block is, hey, Lou, Kurt, hey, how you doing? It's just togetherness, real love and just togetherness and unity.
Sure. Now, what did moms do? Did you live
Well,
with moms?
my mom actually was a very, very hard worker. She was my inspiration. My mom was my everything. She was an avid fan of music, as a matter of fact. And I remember going to the record stores, back in the day, the record stores had speakers outside of the record store, and they were just blasting, all day long. And we would go every week. I remember going every Friday and reading the charts for her. I think I learned how to read by reading the charts, the top 10 songs for that record store, right? And my mom had to stay up. She had to get the top 10 records every week. And that was her thing. So she loved the Motown sound. She loved all of the greats, man. Sam Cooke, Jackie Wilson,
Classic.
And I'm growing up and I'm like James Brown, I'm his biggest fan, right? That's my hero. And I'm like, Mom, James Brown, he's the best. Oh, look, you ain't seen Jackie Wilson yet. Look at Jackie Wilson. All right. We used to have these little debates and stuff like that because she used to say, I don't like the way he screams, And I was like, he's the greatest. But she was my inspiration. Mom was a mother taking care of two sons, by herself. Our stepdad left,
What about Pops? Did you?
Yeah, Pops. I had a stepdad when I was very, very young. I remember this guy. But that's the bad part I was talking about,
Did you ever meet Pops ever?
My real dad, when he was on his deathbed, I met him one time when I was about 5 years old. My mom said, it's your dad. He's downstairs. Come downstairs and meet your dad. I ran downstairs and he said, oh, hey, how you doing there, son? Good to meet you. And I wanted to give you some money. Here's $5. I was like, well, I can't take it. My mom said never to accept money from strangers. So I never saw him again after that. But when he was on his deathbed, he told all of his other sons, my half-brothers, about me. And so they reached out and found me, but it was too late. He had died already. But I found out I have 5 half-brothers and 4 half-sisters.
Damn.
From my dad's side. And so I'm all in touch with them now, hanging out with them. And it's a nice relationship, getting to know them again and everything. Real cool.
One thing I speak about a lot with a lot of different people is, when we grow up and we don't have, say, a dad around or a mom around, we don't realize until we get older how much that affected us.
Right.
Do you remember moments or feel that affected you not growing up with a dad?
No. You know why? Because I had a plan for that. And my plan was to develop all of my heroes, and they would be my father. Like, for instance, I had imaginary dads, like Dr. J was my dad, dude. Walt, even before Dr. J, Walt Frazier, Clyde was my dad, right? Yeah. James Brown was my dad. You know what I mean? Sam Cooke was my dad. Martin Luther King was my dad. Malcolm X was my dad. And I started studying them, and I wanted to become like them. Of course, being smart, I didn't want to repeat the same mistakes that they made, so I learned from them. And I just, mimicked a lot of I actually became a summation of all of my heroes.
It's crazy. I actually never heard anyone tell me that, man. And the funny thing is I actually understand what the hell you're saying. Sometimes, there's ways, like, I like that because I think there's ways that you could try to not let it only get to you, let it make you better, not bitter. You know what I mean? And sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of us grew up, where our pops weren't around or our moms, wasn't around. And we try to be strong and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, later on, you realize that, it kind of fucked you up a little bit.
Right. And the other thing for me was that, I made it my point never to do that with my children.
Sure. Or be better. Be better. Me too, man. It's like I look at it like, that's why I say this almost every episode, but I have, when I had a dark time in my life and I had to restart and got in trouble and, came home to be a better person, I was away from my kid at a very early age. I started this movement, that I call presence over presence. And I realized because a lot of like street people and a lot of people, that neighborhood kids, and we would think that we were taking care of our kids because we gave them some new Jordans, or because we gave them some clothes.
No,
but we didn't realize that. I didn't realize my daughter had $500, but in 10 years she didn't remember any of them. She only remembered the moments that we hung out together. The presence was the best gift I ever gave, and there's a lot of people worldwide that listen to this show that are living that life. You know what I mean? It's not about me. It's just about living the life, and I like that you said that too, because we try to be better. They always say, like, if you weren't a great father, you try to be a better grandfather. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or if you didn't have a father, like, there's a lot of people I spoke to on the show, so many different people that say, like, we speak about how their father wasn't really lovable because their father wasn't lovable.
Right.
So what they do is that they change that around.
Boom.
And
break the cycle.
Exactly.
Right.
When was you're in Harlem? When was your first thought of, like, first of all, what did you even want to be? Like, did you even know? I know you like music, but what did you want to be?
Well, I come from a group of young kids who were sort of like gifted and talented. I don't want to like toot my own horn, but it was a special class we were in called the IGC, Intellectually Gifted Children. And when I was in the 3rd grade, I took a reading test, and I had a 12th grade reading level and a 10th grade comprehension level. And so they put me in this class. And so I figured it out, like, wow, at an early age, look, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be in life. I want to be that summation of all of my heroes. I did this oral report on Malcolm X. And so before the report, we had to read the book. So I read the autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley. And that book changed my life. I saw how he was a guy from my same neighborhood. He hustled Sugar Hill from 146th Street in Amsterdam. I'm living on 140th Street in Amsterdam Convent. And wow, this guy was just an awesome guy. So I wanted to be like Malcolm X, but I knew that he had some problems with his mission. And it was where I learned at the end of his book when he took that trip to Mecca and found out all the people living together and all the people praising God together and how we all could get along really was a revelation in his life that changed everything. And sorry to say, I think he was probably killed for it or some other reasons. I don't want to go into that, but I just thought it affected me how he changed his life, that part of the book. So I wanted to be that person to be that unifying factor and bringing people together. I knew that there were different races out there. I knew that there were different kinds of different ages of people. We all have these generation gaps. We have these differences. We have this definite, like, it's a barrier, a blockage for us to live together like what Malcolm wanted. So I wanted to be that person trying to deliver that message that Malcolm tried at the end of his life. And sort of bring people together and say we can all, And the other thing, I wanted to be a cycle breaker. Boom. That's
Really?
it.
Okay.
Cycle breaker.
Who were people you were listening to? Like, obviously you were listening to what Moms was playing, but what about you personally?
Well, it all started with Mom. So I remember the first album she bought for me was a Sam Cooke album.
Nice.
Sam Cooke and Soul Stirrers. He was doing gospel. And there's a song on there called, oh my gosh. But just Sam Cooke and his voice became like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a singer. So after the years went by, in 1972, I was 13 years old, in the 8th grade, and it was career day. So all these policemen came through. There was a lawyer came through, all these people, Oh, you can be this, you can be that.
Good morning, Curtis.
Right. And so, and being in the gifted classes, I said, look, like my mom's always motivated me and told me, look, with that brain, you can be anything you want to be in life, right?
God bless, Mom.
So for me, it was like, thinking about Malcolm, thinking about, Sam Cooke, James Brown, Jimmy Castor. I wanted to become this entertainer. That was the mission that I wanted to follow so that I could get enough power so I could become Malcolm X. And, so Paul Robeson came into mind, and that was a guy. I just wanted to do everything that he did.
Now, did you like have like a rhyme book? Like, did you start to like make like? Were you one of those kids like beating on the lunchroom desk making beats? Like, were you writing things down in a rhyme book? Like, how did you? Obviously the music inspired you of what you were just saying, but when did you start to even pivot and put the...
That was like high school, more like high school, later on, 74, 75. But my whole thing was like, I was an impersonator. I used to do these incredible voices like John Wayne, hey there, Pilgrim. What's going on? Here's Paul Lynn. You never cooked me, Samantha. But I used to mimic this radio DJ, my hero, another one of my heroes. He was on WWRL. His name was Hank Spann. Hank Spann was like incredible, but his voice was he was on a couple of James Brown records, as a matter of fact, too. The Big Payback, do this for New York. So I used to mimic him all the time. WWRL, Super 16. This is Hank Spann, the server. We're about as funky as a crippled crab without a crutch. And that's too much. And so I used to go around the high school during that time at Music and Arts and just mimicking Hank Spann and being the DJ. Of course, I was a DJ during that time as well. And so that's how I got popular. That was my thing before rap. So
sure.
When rap started, that was my voice. That was my radio voice. And the first MCs mimic the radio DJs
sure.
that were on the radio.
Sure. It's funny. I always think of 98. For me, I always think of 98.7 voices, like when it was like late at night.
Right.
There was like a lot of, DJs that used to be like, 98.7. And they used to put on that voice, and I was like, okay, that's the sexy voice, man.
But there was one guy on WWRL back then that had a high voice, and
really?
He was very famous, too. He's still on the radio now. That's Gary Bird.
Wow.
The GBE. This is Gary Bird, WWRL, Super 16. Just the voice. His voice was high-pitched, but he had that radio voice. And it was different from Hank Spann, but I always liked his style of songs. He used to make these obscure records back in the days, and that also motivated me. That was my plan to break into the music industry, to meet all the record execs, becoming a radio announcer,
sure.
like Gary Bird and make these obscure records. He made these obscure records like he would play a song and then say something and then play another song or just a tidbit, like a little, 5 seconds. Like he would say something like, Mr. President, who were you with last night? Me and Mrs. Jones, right? So, and he'd do that for about 3 or 4 minutes and just bringing in songs. And these songs were so hot. They played them every hour on the radio. I said, career day, 72, I'm going to be like my man Gary Bird and make these obscure records, break into the music industry, and then start singing like Paul Robeson and acting and all of that stuff. So that was my plan.
That's classic. You're credited with being the first commercially successful rapper, right? For those who are listening who don't even know who Kurtis Blow is, right? It could be some people.
A whole lot.
What? I gotta say it in the way I say. What the fuck does that mean? The first commercially successful rapper.
Well, I'll tell you. Even better than that is signed to a major label.
That's right. You got a double whammy on that.
The first one signed to a major label, and that means major press. That means there's a major office in every major city around the world. And me being a college student straight out of college, I'm working the system. So I'm going to every department, getting to know the department heads. And I went to the publicity and promotions department, sat up with a lady named Beverly Page. She made me, all right? She got me a lot of stuff. That first commercial, she got me so much. She sent me around the world doing promo. I said, send me everywhere. So she sent me to England, to Paris, France. I went
now you had to get a passport
Japan.
at the time, right?
Yeah, I had to get a passport. I'm 19 years old, straight out of Harlem, going to London, England. Oh, my God. And so when I get there, I get to the office. I go to the conference room. They have interviews set up from 12 to 5, 6 hours straight.
It's like a job.
We talking newspapers, print. We talking magazines, radio, TV, television, doing the TV shows. So I ran the gamut with all of this big arm of a major label, and I worked the system, and it was very, very critical and crucial to the birth of hip hop because it was documented. This is the first time they've seen hip hop in these places. Of course, Sugar Hill has been there, but they have a band. So I'm coming up with a DJ and I'm b-boying and breakdancing and giving it to them like, straight from the Bronx. And it was awesome just riding around. And I remember people saying stuff like, "Where's your band?" You know what I mean? But at the end of the show, they're like, "All right,
we fuck with it."
You know what I'm saying? So it was nice. So that was what it really, really meant to being the first successful commercial artist. I was the first to do the first national commercial for hip hop. The Sprite.
The Sprite. That's right.
The Sprite. And I remember, my gosh. Must have been about 1986. I'm sitting at home with my wife and my kids, and the TV. We were watching the movie of the week on ABC. And guess what's playing? Rambo. Rambo is on. First time you get to see it on TV, right?
Classic.
First commercial out of Rambo is Sprite. Tell it to a friend. We're chilling out with the taste that's in. Now more than ever. Now more than ever. It's Sprite. Right? And I'm like, oh my God. This is it. This is big time. It gets no better than that. You know what I'm saying? So it was a blessing those early days, being there at the right time. Definitely blessing. God.
Yeah, for sure. That's very special. I remember, hearing stories about with Russell Simmons, and meeting you and taking you all around. And do you remember those days?
Yes, Russell and I were college buddies. Wild and crazy guy. This guy was very, very intelligent, though. I'll tell you that. I remember getting I had a 3.9 GPA. I think he was like 4.2 or 3 or something like that. This guy, I showed him about 4 of my tests, right? 90s and 95. He said, oh, yeah? Look at his test. He had all hundreds. All.
Wow.
I was like, oh, my God. All right, buddy. Let's talk. But, yeah, those were some wild and crazy days. But when we actually got the chance to make a record and travel, like when we went to Europe, I took Russell with me, right? And so we're in Paris on the Champs-Élysées. First time. We're eating in a big, expensive, incredible, awesome restaurant. And they have all of this seafood platter. It's the first time I ever saw a big, huge 3-tier seafood platter, right?
Oysters,
shrimp, clams, everything. And, you know, I don't eat oysters. I mess with clams a little bit. So I was messing with the clams and the shrimp. And Russell just going at everything. He's like, oh, man, the mussels. Try the mussels. I said, no, Russell, I don't eat mussels. Try them. They're great. He's sloughing up the mussels. A half hour later, so we go to sound check. Half hour later, Russell is like, oh, my stomach. Oh, I'm sick. This man, he threw up all over the whole arena. I'm talking about 2,000-seater. This guy is nonstop. He never made the show. He stayed at the hotel. He was sick, had food poisoning. It was just a horrible trip for him. Yeah. But my buddy, he's my buddy.
Yeah,
I love him, and I pray for him. I know he's going through some things now. I hope that I pray for the victims that are coming forth. This Me Too movement is something else. Ladies, you know, the 80s were crazy. That's all I could say. Yeah. And I just thank God that we have survived it. And I apologize for all the ladies who have been hurt and been attacked and threatened and all of that, man. It's just a nightmare, sort of, coming back after 30 years. And, man, you know, you compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. And prayers. Mm-hmm. You know, your first hit, right?
My favorite.
Go ahead. I want you to break that down. How the fuck did that happen?
Well, you know, Christmas rap, man. First, let me just say hello to all the radio DJs around the country. Thank you, all the program directors, music directors, DJs. Man, you guys have made this song a classic.
And Santa Claus.
And Santa. We can't forget you. But, you know, the real thing about Christmas is it's the birth of Christ, right?
Sure.
And so I made this song. I never knew that. I didn't think I was going to be a minister later, 25 years later, right? But, you know, just the actual thought of making a Christmas rap was a great, great concept. I didn't realize that it was going to be around so long. And this song is going to be around long after I'm gone.
Sure.
And so I have to give thanks to J.B. Moore, who actually came up with the lyrics and the concept of making a Christmas rap song that will last and live forever.
Where was that happening, Mike? Like, were you in a conference room, the studio? Where were people, like, where were y'all brainstorming for this type of shit? Like, meaning, like, where they came up with the lyrics?
Right. So this was before Russell, and I remember going down when I first got the record deal. The producer signed me. I went down for a meeting to sit with a creative meeting. So I'm sitting in this small apartment down on 45th Street. So I take the train downtown, and I actually met this guy, Larry Smith, a young Larry Smith. Another, he was a bass player and a pianist, a concert pianist. His name was Denzel Miller, and J.B. Moore and Robert Ford, the two producers, right? So they were sitting down, we were talking about doing this Christmas rap, and they were like, well, what kind of sound do you want? I was like, sound? What do you mean sound? And Larry Smith was talking to me. He said, well, your style of music, what kind of style of music? Well, who's your favorite? James Brown, right? So I thought about it. I was like, well, style of music, I would like my style of music to be a cross, a balance, a cross between James Brown and the hottest music. The hottest group during that time was a group called CHEA, and they had Good Times out.
Good
right?
times.
That was the Rapper's Delight song. So I said, well, let me do a style of music that's a cross between James Brown and CHEA.
Sure.
And that's when we came up with that progressive bass line, the boom, 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 boom. You know, and that was important because, you know, it was like the style of CHEA and that Rapper's Delight bass line, boom, 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 boom. So we just simplified it and made it simpler, less is best, and just a boom, 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 boom. You know, and that was it. Just repeat that. And, of course, the James Brown guitars on top.
Sure, the influence had to be there.
You know.
You ever got to meet James Brown?
I met him one time, my hero. I met him one time. I had the pleasure, the honor of opening a show for James Brown.
How the fuck that happen?
Yes, it was at the Newark Symphony Hall. Kurtis Blow, Wilson Pickett, and James Brown.
God damn.
And I took a picture with James Brown. And I can't find it anywhere.
You better check on your floppy disk.
It's my hero. But, you know, we're working with the family, the James Brown Family Foundation. We're writing and producing and creating a documentary about James Brown and his inspiration to hip hop.
Tons.
Right?
Tons. And that's special. But so you get your first hit. You know?
Yes. Christmas rap.
A classic. You know, Christmas rap. Come on.
Yep.
Even, I don't know what comes next, you know, but I do want to say The Breaks.
Yes.
Is another, was that followed right exactly?
That's next.
Okay. Most people, listen, you heard of the one hit it quitters, okay? How do you follow up with another hit?
Right.
That
was God.
No, I'm saying, I'm saying even to this day, I don't care, you know, how old the young people are, you know, these are The Breaks.
Right.
Is, again, that's, you know, part of the I guess the gifted school of Kurtis Blow.
There you go. But thank you. You know, I have to give some credit to J.B. Moore because actually he came to me and he went to Russell and asked Russell. At that time, I made Russell my manager.
Yes.
Right, and so he went to Russell and asked Russell to ask me what kind of a song would I like to do for the follow-up after Christmas rap. Because we had this special kind of deal, right? We had a deal that, it was a 12-inch deal. Now, if our first 12-inch sold 30,000 copies, we could make another one.
Sure.
And then if that second single sold 50,000 copies, then we could make an album. So the first song sold 370,000 copies.
God
right,
damn.
Christmas rap. So we did very well. So we're working on the next song. So they asked me what kind of song. I wanted to do a song that had a lot of breaks in it for the B-boys so they could do their thing,
sure.
right? And he said, wow, that's great because there's a connotation to that. Meaning there's another meaning when you say breaks. It's not just the breaks in music. It's all kinds of breaks. And I remember this song, J.B. Moore is talking to me. He said, I remember this song that came out in the 1920s. It was like a philosophy song. And the guy was like, hey, bucko, you say you lost your job and your wife left you and, you know, your kids are sick and, you know, you're broke, you don't have it, but it's going to be okay. Tomorrow, everything's going to be all right. You know, just don't worry. It's going to be okay, right? So it's like the good things and bad things that can happen to one during one's life.
Sure.
Don't worry about it. Just say, that's the breaks. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the concept of the song came about.
Sounds like some shit my mother or father would say.
So we have these connotations, meaning
for sure.
like brakes on a bus, brakes on a car, brakes to make you a superstar, brakes to win, brakes to lose. These here brakes will rock your shoes. So that was the awesomeness of that song. And just taking an old hit from the 1920s and modernize it, you too will have a hit.
How many copies did that do?
Yes, so Christmas Rap, 370,000 copies, and then The Breaks, boom, 840,000 copies. It's the first certified gold rap song for the history of hip-hop. As a matter of fact, the 12-inch sold 840,000 copies. Is the first
vinyl
certified 12-inch gold record. But it's the second certified gold song in the history of music.
Really?
Yes. Second.
See,
you know what the first one was?
No, I do not.
Donna Summers and Barbara Streisand, Enough is Enough.
Really?
Remember
Enough
that?
is enough. Yeah, come on, man. Come on.
I can go.
We're about to go break it down. Studio 54, open the fuck back up. Me and Curtis coming.
Yeah.
You know, listen, man, you know, did you, after all this, okay, a kid from Harlem, I don't know why I feel this way, but anyone I sit down with, I had to, were you fucking saying to yourself, this is like, wow, like meaning like,
oh yeah, man. It's
because I'm sure money was coming in too, right?
It was a dream world. It was a dream world. It still is basically a dream world, but back then it was like awesome. I'm walking around, and you know what I wanted to do? Like I said, I got with the promo department and publicity,
sure.
Beverly Page, send me out and let me find my heroes. I want to meet them and tell them how much I love them, and I want to take pictures with them. So she introduced me. She sent me out to Hitsville one time over in Detroit. I met Aretha Franklin.
Wow.
Oh my God. Sat there. We had lunch together.
What'd you order, man? What did you order, bro?
Probably some fried chicken or something like that, you know. Hey. But you know, just being around her, you know, I met the Jacksons. Michael Jackson invited me to a party, one of his parties at the Museum of Natural History.
Who introduced you to him? Like, how did that?
The record company.
So no,
I had him do it.
No,
Yeah.
I know, but there was a direct person that said, "Hey, Michael, meet Curtis." Like, was that like that, or you just went up to him?
Right. No, the two record companies got together and they, you know, put together like a promotion where we could go out. Like one time, I did a promotion with Prince one time, right?
Man, you blowing my
so
mind.
So listen. I'm sitting up in a club with Prince. We're together, right, sitting here, and we have this promotion, big promotion. All the people coming to get autographs from Kurtis Blow and Prince. Prince signed 1,000 autographs, and I signed maybe 4. That's how hot he was. Prince was a master. I'm talking about this guy, and really a good guy too, because of the biggest song I ever produced. My most meaningful song is the Martin Luther King song I did called King Holiday. And when we got finished with that song, you know, everybody was on it. Whitney Houston, Stephanie Mills, Tina Marie, rest in peace, and New Edition, Menudo. So when we got finished, we needed to make a video. Prince paid for the video. $90,000. Back in those days, that was like
$900,000.
That's like $900,000 right now, right? And so he put up the money for the video for the Martin Luther King Foundation. And wow, what a guy, man! That's love. You know what I'm saying? That's a real person supporting, you know, a real important project.
You know, was mom is mom still alive, or was mom around to see some of that? Did she ever like get the chance to see you perform like that?
Yeah, my mom just passed away last April.
Rest in peace.
But yes, she was there for a lot of it. Yes, I had her by my side. As a matter of fact, when they gave me a street sign up in the Bronx, and she was with me on the whole parade and everything.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, man. I love my mom. My mom was my favorite. You know, she made it happen for her brother.
Yeah.
Definitely. And so I miss her dearly.
Yeah. You know, in the, you know, we're playing basketball, the breaks, right?
Yep.
Well, actually, we didn't get to play. We're playing basketball, right? We didn't get to that yet. That was. Don't even tell me that was the third song.
No, that was 84.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
going to
that
say,
was like
because if you went 3 for 3, I was going to be like, Curtis, man.
No, we had
Help
a
me.
flop.
But man, listen.
Let me stop saying that. Billy Bill, you did not make a flop.
We'll move over to flops. You know, some of those songs. I mean, that played on movies, right?
Right.
That played on please remind me where we're playing basketball played on. Did it play on a sitcom or something?
Oh, they had commercials.
Yes.
Remember Lil Penny?
Yep,
With Penny
yes,
Hardaway. Yes. Remember that? That was nice.
Now you get royalties from that, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
And These Are the Breaks wasn't? Didn't they play that? Didn't they just do something? It did one season, I believe, but on the Breaks.
Right.
Did they use?
Oh, VH1. Yeah,
Did they
the
use?
breaks.
Did they use anything?
Oh, that was something else, and I never really went after them. But I just met the executive director,
Dan Charnas.
and we're working together.
Dan Charnas is a beautiful soul.
Great guy, right?
Yeah, no, he is. I'm
So-
sure if they fucked up, Dan, get it right.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Nah,
That's
Dan
okay.
Charnas is somebody who is another piece of the puzzle that I
But
was
speaking
talking
about basketball, that goes all the way back to my stepdad. Remember I said
Yes.
the good things, some good things, some bad things. But he went. I remember being 2, 3 years old, sitting on his lap, and he was a sports fanatic, right? So every year, since I was born, 1959, every year the Knicks were playing at the end of playoffs and finals, and here come this guy, named Bill Russell, and the Boston Celtics, and they would just beat the Knicks down every year. So that's actually, I'm 3, 4, 5. Every year Boston's winning. 11 championships Bill Russell runs. So I'm growing up in this, and my stepdad, he's a Knicks fan, so he loves Willis Reed. I love Walt Frazier, right? That's my man. But he's cursing out the Celtics every year, every playoffs, because the Celtics are kicking the Knicks' butt, right? And so he was a sailor, cursed like a sailor. That's
Sure.
where I learned how to curse, right? But the great thing about it was the fact that I learned to love sports. I became a sports fanatic, and I read the paper backwards so I could get all the stats and everything. That's what he did, right? But I remember when Bill Russell retired in 1968, I was like, yay, right? I knew the Knicks were going to win it. But he came back as the first African-American player and coach in 1969 and won the championship again. And me and my stepdad, we're sitting watching this, pulling our hair out. Here's Bill Russell kicking our butt every year, the first 10 years of my life. You hear me?
You ever get a chance to meet Bill Russell?
Never met him.
Okay,
I
good.
met Wilt Chamberlain.
Okay.
though. But so in 1969, he retires. And that's when the Knicks won. That's when Willis Reed got hurt. Remember and Walt Frazier scored 34 in that game 7 and took out the Lakers, right?
And they were playing.
Boom.
They were playing basketball.
That was a great year for New York sports. Not only that, but we also had Broadway Joe, right? 1969. And the Amazing Mets. 1969 was a great year for New York.
Was that your inspiration to make We're Playing Basketball?
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
My love.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my favorite sport. Even though I play football better.
Receiver?
No,
Quarterback?
middle linebacker.
Middle linebacker.
Dude, defense.
Laying the schmack it.
Ooh,
Really?
forearms. Ooh. But actually, my wife. I've been married for 34 years. My wife came up with that idea for basketball. Here's a female. She came to me one day. She said, basketball is your favorite sport, but they don't have a theme song. Baseball has a theme song. Take me out to the ball, right? But basketball doesn't. You should do a basketball song. And then I called my buddy up, Billy Bill. Yo, Bill, we got to do a basketball song. Make it all about Dr. J. Right. So that's where the concept came from.
When it came out, did the label push it? Like, did you go to any ball games where people were like really
my
messing
God.
with it? Like, players coming up like, oh, fuck with that. You know?
Oh yeah. And of course, you know me with the promotions department
yes,
again.
What's her name?
Beverly Page.
Beverly
I'm
Page,
like, yo,
legendary.
Bev, you got to hook me up. So no, actually, the NBA called me and they had me do. At one time, I was playing. I was doing concerts at the end of the game. Like they would have like two teams who wouldn't draw, right? And then they would call me in to be the concert after the game. Like say DC was playing, you know, Cleveland, or well, not Cleveland, but somebody else, you know. And they would have the house half full. So they bring me in and we'd sell out. So I got to meet Dr. J. Dr. J came to my concert when I was playing Philly and gave me a big hug because the song is basically bigging him up.
Sure.
And Iceman, I met the Iceman, George Gervin.
Yeah, Gervin, yeah.
Yes, of course. You know, I met Clyde, Walt Frazier, and
Stumbling
Earl
and
Pearl.
bumbling.
Yeah, met Kareem.
Okay, Kareem.
Kareem and Magic.
Yeah.
I was out in L.A. at a concert, and they came to my concert, and I met Magic. Magic and I are still friends.
Really?
Yeah.
What made you? I know it's funny. When
Jordan, friends with Jordan too.
Wait, whoa, hold on. Okay, now you say
That's
Jordan.
my dude.
How did that happen?
Well, you know, Michael Jordan. How did we meet? Oh, Charles Oakley. It was Charles Oakley. So I put Michael Jordan in the song, and then so when I met him, I met Charles Oakley at the same time, and Charles Oakley and I became friends. So we used to keep in touch. As a matter of fact, when he left Chicago to go to New York, he called me up. Oh man, you got to give me some numbers. I'm going to New York. Wow, I remember those days. That was great. So I made this song for Michael Jordan. I wrote a song for him. And I tried to get him to rap the song. And what happened was they got involved with the playoffs, right? And when they were playing the Lakers. And so I was hanging out at one of the games, and the press came up to me and said, yeah, so what do you think about, you know, Michael Jordan? I was telling him about the song and everything and, you know, how we were hanging out. So what do you think about the Bulls' chances of making it? At that time, I was living in L.A. and I was a Laker fan. Big Kareem, Big Magic, James Worthy.
Worthy.
Oh, my God, Showtime, all that, right? These are the Harlem Globetrotters, you ask me, right? And so I said, well, you know, Mike is good, but I don't know what's going to happen when he gets to L.A., if he ever gets here. And so the one reporter, it was a local reporter for L.A. Press, but the news article hit the API. And then it went all over viral. It was on the Times in Chicago and the Daily News in New York. And I'm like, oh, my God, Michael Jordan got wind of it. Found out. You know how he is. He's like, you look, if you're not with me, you must be against me.
Yeah.
Right?
Now we got a problem here.
But I'm just a fan. And you know what happened when they got to L.A.? They beat L.A. So he definitely, you know, made me have to swallow my words.
You know, from a young kid from Harlem, your journey has been quite amazing. You know, when you think about it, you traveled the world, passport stamps like crazy from a young age. You know, seen the world, man, seen the world. You know, when we grew up in, you know, I think of myself, you know, I'm younger than you, but I you know, I remember going to the city. You know, I grew up in Brooklyn. Going to the city, taking the train to the city was like a vacation. We got out of that train station, came upstairs, and I was like, wow. So when I got a chance to go to like Mexico and, you know, went to London or went to like Dominican Republic or I went to Jamaica, I was blown away. And I still, honestly, to be honest with you, try to continue to keep myself humble from where I once was. I may not have everything I want, but I got everything I need. And,
Right, amen.
And sometimes like we look at journeys like yours, and it's special. Do you remember getting like your first big check? Did you know what the hell to do with it? I feel like either there's two things somebody does when we grow up with nothing really. Either you blow it on some dumb shit,
right,
or you hold on to that shit so tight, and then you try to figure out a couple of things. Did you invest your money young, or did you do it? Did you do it?
Well, for me, it was more like, the check was only $37,000.
Okay,
right.
But at that time,
that time, it was a lot. Yes,
yeah.
But for me, it was more about being smart.
Yeah.
I wanted to save it, but I was getting this flack from Russell. See, what happened, Russell took a leave of absence. Once we got our first check, he took a leave of absence from college, right? And the man needed 23 credits to graduate. Now, I'm a year younger. I was a junior, so I needed about maybe 50 or 60. So I'm not dropping out. I'm like, Russell, look, I don't care how much money we have. This is not enough. I'm going to get my career. I'm going to get my degree. And I definitely am not leaving school. Not yet. When the break sold 840,000 copies was when I took a leave. But I was very, very, very serious. So the money to me really didn't faze me that much. Yeah, it was good. I was happy. Yes, of course, amazed. But I was too caught up in never forgetting where I came from. Always wanted to look out for my people. I hired Russell, as my manager. Hired my other buddy from elementary school as my staff writer. Helping me out with lyrics. Just being a blessing to all my friends that were around me during that time. And Jay-Z said something like this, you can have a lot of money, but, what does it mean when the people around you ain't got no money? You're the only one that got money?
Yeah, I remember saying that.
You know what I mean? You got to hook your people up.
That is classic. You know what? Let's take a quick break. We're sitting here with the legendary Kurtis Blow, okay? And we ain't playing basketball.
Hey.
We doing a podcast. Be right back. CHEA.
Hey, this is the ROXANNE. And if you want premium, and I'm not talking regular, if you want premium, it costs more, get on the Premium Pete Show. Please believe it, baby.
And we're back. Sitting here with my guy, Kurtis Blow, the one and only. One thing I'm really, really excited that you're going to be involved in, okay? And we got a special treat by having my man Rocky. First of all, you know what? Without me even saying anything, Rocky, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Man, tell people what they could look forward to in the year 2022. Okay.
So we are going to open the official Museum of Hip Hop, the Universal Hip Hop Museum, which breaks ground next year, 2019. And then, we plan to open in 2022.
And that's in the Bronx.
In the Bronx. It will be located at 65 East 149th Street, which is about 5 blocks north of Yankee Stadium.
And how did
South.
And how did Kurtis, like how does somebody like Kurtis, I mean, obviously it makes sense from many people, and I'm gonna go back one more time to the puzzle. Many people are the puzzle to be involved in this. So what Kurtis, what is your position in the museum?
Well, I found out about the museum that Rocky was working on, and I had to be a part of it because it's such an important project for hip hop.
Sure.
Not only my legacy, my history.
Sure.
That are going to be for my children and my children's children and their children. But there are so many others like me that deserve it as well. And like you said, the pieces of the puzzle. We need to get those pieces of the puzzle in one place, in one brick and mortar location.
Yeah.
so that we can tell this history for
And
the world
and
to see.
appreciate it, and
Yeah.
take time to so the legacy forever stays alive. Rocky, how does something like this happen? Like,
Well, this is not the first attempt to try to build a museum for hip hop. You know, there's been several other attempts. There was the National Museum of Hip Hop, and then there was the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. So, Universal Hip Hop Museum is not the first attempt to get a museum off the ground for hip hop, but we're the only one that is actually prevailing. And when I say prevailing, in the sense that we actually have a development team, we have the approval from the city of New York, we raised $20 million from the state and the city. You know, we have a great executive team. Kurtis Blow is our chairman. We have a great architectural design team. So we have a firm called Hamilton Anderson Associates. They're out of Detroit. They're actually working on the expansion of the Motown Museum. They're working with Mike Ford, who's the hip-hop architect. And, you know, so we're working in conjunction with a lot of great people to bring this project to fruition. You know, so my background, Kurtis knows, I started as a DJ way back in the early 70s. I had my own record company. I worked with some of the top producers, Teddy Riley, Dallas Austin, L.A. Reid.
legendary.
So, you know, what I'm doing is nothing really special. It's just that we were able we were at the right time at the right place to bring a concept and have people actually believe in it, and then finding a development opportunity that allowed us to actually find the perfect location to actually say that this is where the museum is going to be located. So all those things have to fall into the right place at the right time, and it's, you know, just the universe was on our side.
Sure. You know, who are some other people that are involved as far as, like, you know, Kurtis Blow is the chairman. Who are some other people do you have?
So we have Ed Young. He was one of the founding owners of the Source magazine. We have Deidre Tate. She worked with Belle Biv DeVoe. She's a record executive. She was president of the Flavor Unit for a short period of time. We have Big Daddy Kane. He's a supporter. Rakim is a supporter. We got a lot of different artists that are donating to our archives and our collection. So, you know, we have a lot of people. Ice-T is involved. He's been involved from the very, very beginning. Now Kurtis is talking to Chuck D and Dougie Fresh about getting involved. So, you know, the list goes on and on and on and on.
You know what I would also like to see, and I mean, obviously, this is something to come, but, you know, especially in podcasting, I would love to see somehow, some way, my brother, Combat Jack, celebrated, because I feel like audio-wise, he put, like, how people like Kurtis put, you know, history on wax. I feel like Combat put that.
You know,
the reason why I say that for, I would love for his family to visit that opening and see the archives or somehow, whatever. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. There's no question. So, you know, what we're doing now in what we call the development stage of building this museum, we have a great bunch of people who are contributing ideas and research. A lot of research is going into, you know, documenting the origins of hip hop, not just the stories that everyone knows, because, you know, we know the story of Kool Herc, we know the story of Flash, we know the story of Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation and all the people like Kurtis Blow and Sugar Hill Gang. But there are so many other pieces of hip hop: the graffiti artists, the break dancers, right? The fashion designers, you know, the DJs, you know, like myself and other people whose story you may not have heard about.
Radio.
Right,
radio podcasters.
The people behind the scenes, the publicists, the marketing people.
Record label promoters.
The concert promoters, the club promoters, the clubs.
God damn, you know, you think about
clubs.
it.
Wow.
Man.
You know, so, I mean, hip-hop has really touched so many different aspects of pop culture, American culture, and global culture that, it's going to be not not difficult, but it's definitely a challenge to make sure all those stories are told in the proper light. But with a museum that is dedicated to the preservation and celebration of hip hop, we are bringing the best of the best people together to make sure that we are able to deliver it to the people who are going to be coming to this museum from all around the world to experience a hip hop museum. There's nothing like it.
Sure. And it's special.
And it's special. So we're going to be relying heavily on augmented reality and mixed reality, all kind of technology. So when people come in there, they get a unique experience of hip hop. Because just like you said in the very beginning, there's so many people who may not know Kurtis Blow, may not have seen what Kurtis Blow has brought to hip hop, but just being able to put them back in time.
Sure, experience it.
And experience it in a very unique kind of way. So we want this museum to be accessible from not just the people our age who, have been around hip hop for over 45 years, but for those grandparents and those children and, my wife and my son and hopefully his son and his children's children will be able to come to this museum and really see the complete evolution of hip hop from day one up until where we are today.
Where could people find out more info about this?
So we have a great website. It's www.uhhm.org. We have a Facebook page. We have a Twitter page. We have Instagram. But the main thing is, if you want information about the museum, they could go, they could send an email to info@uhhm.org, and we'll make sure that people get all the latest information. We publish a monthly newsletter, so there's thousands of people that subscribe to our newsletter, just to, make sure that they stay updated. I get phone calls every day from people who think the museum is actually open right now. And they're like, we're here in the Bronx and we want to go, we want to go visit the museum. We're not open yet.
Come back in a couple of years.
So it's something that people are anxious to go see. And it's just exciting to be part of this whole development because Kurtis knows, when we first started 5 years ago, going on 6 years now, we were looking at all different kind of locations. So the location that we have now is wasn't our first. We were trying to look at the Kingsbridge Armory up in the West Bronx, and then we were looking at some other locations, the Old Bronx County Courthouse, and then this location really just fell in our lap because a developer was, was going to submit a proposal to the city of New York, and they were looking for a hip hop museum. They didn't know if one existed, so they type hip hop museum in Google, and up comes Universal Hip Hop Museum. So the guy says, "Oh wow, there's a hip hop museum. Let's call these guys and see where they are with their, with building, a building or having a location." So when the guy called me up from L&M Development Partners and asked, if we were still looking for a location, I was like, actually we are. And then when he told me about what they were getting ready to propose to the city of New York, and he told me their location, I was like, this is like heaven sent.
Sure.
This is straight from God, because having a location that is right on the Harlem River waterfront on the Bronx side, not too far from Yankee Stadium, so surrounded by all the mass transit lines, so it's accessible to everybody. It's a dream come true for hip hop.
Yeah. This is gonna be, man. It's gonna be a couple of years, but I will say this is something that I think myself and many people should be very excited to experience. It's funny when you say that. We go to aquarium, you go to a museum, and well, I don't want to say aquarium and museum. I'm saying you go to a museum, and you go there with the hopes of one, just admiring and experiencing. Sometimes people go to things not just to go to them, to experience it. And I look forward to living that, from being somebody who's been around so much of stuff.
Can you imagine being able to see what hip hop was like before hip hop was recorded?
Sure.
Can you imagine going to see all of the songs that Kurtis Blow produced, not just for himself, but for the Fat Boys and
Sure.
for other artists? And can you imagine being able to be in the room with Biggie and Tupac and listening to, to the good side and the bad side? Can you imagine being able to be in the room with Jay-Z and Eminem and Kendrick Lamar and Drake and have that all in one room?
Sure.
One facility where you could walk from the very beginning of hip-hop to where hip-hop is today.
Sure.
And get a complete understanding of not just the music, but how the music impacted politics.
Sure.
Impacted motion pictures, impacted radio, impacted fashion, magazines,
Sure.
advertising, mechanical engineering.
The
all that
motherfucking
stuff.
world.
Hip-hop has taken over.
And the crazy thing is, at one point in time, people thought it was a fad.
Right. No doubt.
Yep. So it's so exciting. We do a lot of conference calls with our team.
Sure.
And I keep reminding our team because, you got to inspire them sometimes. I like just understand that all of you guys are working on hip-hop's most important project.
Right.
There is nothing more important than this music.
I'm excited. Listen, Rocky, man, I actually want you to come back from time to time over the years while it's getting developed to keep everybody updated. Keep people knowing what, basically what's going on and what's happening. I'm really excited, man. One more time for people, the website where they can check it out.
So it's Universal Hip Hop Museum. It's www.uhhm.org.
Rocky, appreciate you, man. We'll see you soon. You know what, Kurtis? I'm so excited that you got Rocky to come on and tell people about the Hip Hop Museum. And it took away a little bit of like the history of what we were going over with you, but it brought everything into one.
Oh, but Rocky was being modest.
Yeah, I know.
This guy's a legend.
He didn't want to brag a little, but you know what? He's got a job he's doing, and that job is bigger than himself.
I remember seeing him in 1976, and I was 17. Got into this club called the Superstar Cafeteria. Now, the Superstar Cafeteria was huge. It held like 2,000 people, 2,300, right? And so we're there, New Year's Eve. This is a big party, and the headliner was Pete DJ Jones, okay? He was my hero during that time, like Who Herc, both of them. I loved them both. And so I'm going down, spend my New Year's, at the Superstar Cafeteria, all the fly girls there. We got silk dresses and suits and ties and the big disco ball and the mirrors and the lights and everything's flashing. I get there about, about 10:30, 11 o'clock. This guy is 6'4".
Yeah.
Guy's behind the turntable spinning. And he has a crew. And his name was like plastered. And I saw him for the first time. It's like Cool DJ Rock and the Come Off Crew. And I was a fan ever since, man. These guys lit the place up. I mean, I didn't even care about Pete DJ Jones at 12 o'clock. It was like, wow, these guys are doing their thing. And they had that style. I mean, it was real hip hop, but it was classy. It was like, in a club with suits and dresses and silk dresses and ties and everything. But we were getting down. He's playing the real hip hop music that inspired the rap music of today.
Sure,
incredible.
They kept him
Never
moving.
forget it, Rock.
Look,
You the man.
Rock, we look forward to this museum, man. We look forward to this museum, my man.
Our executive director, he works harder than anybody. I got a shout out to Adam Silverstein.
I thought he played for the
Knicks.
Rock.
Yeah, look at this guy, man.
Tall. All right, Rock. We'll talk to you, Rock.
All right, Rocky. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Yo, so Kurtis, listen, as we wind this episode down, okay, first of all, I really enjoyed this episode, man. I mean,
thank you.
I've always enjoyed you always have like this upbeat personality to you, man. How did you get past like some of the fucked up days, man? Like, where shit ain't always right,
Well, I'll be honest with you, that some of those days were bad, yeah, and I've always had this kind of like philosophy or let's say policy. never, I try my best not to burn bridges. I have a few, but I've learned from those mistakes, you know, because people don't forget. Like I remember one time when I first met MC Light. I walked into a club. It was a crowded club, and I was getting ready to perform. And she had came. Her dad was there, and you know she was really young, maybe about 16, 17, and so maybe even earlier than that, maybe 13 or 14. And I remember they pulled me over to her. Hey, this is it, MC Light, look, young girl. She's trying to come up, and I shook her hand, and I was so busy getting ready to go on stage that I just walked away. You know what I mean? And she told me this years later, how it affected her, you know? And from that point on, I was like, wow, you know, you have to take the time to be nice to people. That is what's really important about the entertainment industry. And you as an entertainment, your job as an entertainer is to make people feel good when they leave your concert. And that's very, very, very important. A lot of us get caught up in the me, I. Like, how much money can I get? You know, how much drugs can I get? How much, you know, sex can I get? You know, I mean, it's always going to be there, you know, but just to be loved,
Sure.
and to show love is more important than all the rest of that.
In the hip hop game, who do you still speak to every day or every once in a while? You still speak to?
Flash. I talked to Flash. Dougie Fresh. Chuck D. Just started talking to Chuck again a lot. I just met Boosie, Lil Boosie.
Really?
Yeah, the other day. That's my dog now. Yeah. I like that guy.
That dude is a great dude, man.
Yeah.
You know,
I got some West Coast dudes out there, you know, of course, you know, Toddy T, rest in peace, Mixmaster Spade, my whole crew, Dream Team, a lot of the early rappers, you know, Uncle Jam's Army, rest in peace, Roger Clayton. But just being around my boy Clientele, who was part of the Uncle Jam's Army, Mark Hawkins, good guys. Yeah, talk to Run.
Okay. Okay. You know, if you could do it all over again, you know, would you change anything?
I don't think I would have burned the bridges I burned.
Did you do that on purpose or just because you were not in the right state of mind? I mean,
I wasn't in the right state of mind. It was like more like anger management, you know, until you can sit down and figure out who you are with a self-analysis and try to fix yourself. See, we all are a little crazy.
Absolutely. How did you do that, though? You know, did you go see somebody?
Basically, it's more of going back to your own childhood. It was self-analysis. So I had to go back, reach back into my childhood and find out where does this anger come from. And I used to always think it was my stepdad cursing out Bill Russell all the time. Remember that? Then he would get drunk on the weekends and beat up my mom, right? Until my brother and I got old enough to kick him out the house. That was the bad stuff I was telling you about. Yeah. So all of that violence, all of that arguing and yelling and screaming, the police is coming to my house every weekend. That's all people did around the neighborhood is get drunk over the weekend and fight. You know what I mean? Thank God we didn't shoot each other, but they were fist fights, you know. And so I grew up out of that. And so I'm ready throwing blows. Kurtis Blow because I'll punch you in your face.
Yo, is that how Kurtis Blow was named?
That's where the name comes from. Not cocaine. No, dude.
No. Is the
chin check.
Yeah.
All
Yo,
right.
you know what's funny, Kurt? I usually ask that question at the beginning, Curtis. Like, yo, did you have before Kurtis Blow? Was there any other names you had that you were rolling with?
The Brain.
Okay. That didn't last long.
The Jew.
Okay.
They called me the Jew.
Why?
I had $300 in a bank up under my bed, and my brother called me the Jew. He said, "You just hold on and save your money, and that's what you are. You are about that money." So, no disrespect to any Jewish person out there. I love all of you guys.
Sure.
I don't want the JDL to come
No.
after me.
What is that, Velvet? Listen, you know, when you look back at your career, you know, very special. But also, like Rocky was saying, producing also.
Right.
Run down some of the hits that you also were involved in producing.
It's Like That from Run DMC, Sucker MC.
And that's the way it is.
Yes. Hard Times by Run DMC was hip-hop's first cover song. It was my song that came out in 1981.
Keep
and
them
they did it in 1983. Then the Fat Boys, of course. You know, I love those guys, man. Rest in peace, Buff.
Yep.
Human Beatbox Master. Working on 3 albums with them. Games People Play was a song I produced. The first song I produced was a song called Games People Play by Sweet G. He was the manager of the Disco Fever, my favorite club.
Where were you? Was this at a studio out of Harlem, or were you doing?
No, we went down Midtown Manhattan. Went to where I recorded, Green Street. Roddy Way down at the Green Street.
Now, were you one of those guys that, like, you know, because every artist is different. You know, like some people, like, you know, stay up to like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the morning in the studio. Were you one of those guys that you know, zoned out in the studio for 10 plus hours?
Yeah, man, and it became a problem for me. But I definitely want to shout out Love Buck Starsky because we did his "You Gotta Believe" in At the Fever song. My best friend, rest in peace, Love Buck. But that was my thing, and I got burnt out because of that. I actually retired from producing and moved out to California in 1986 after we did the movie Crush Groove. So when we were doing the movie Crush Groove, I was producing 3 albums during the time. My America album with the song "If I Rule the World," and the Fat Boys album, their second album. And I was doing the soundtrack for the movie Crush Groove.
Crush Groove is so classic, man.
Right? And so I'm burnt out. I'm going to 3 different studios. I got deadlines. And plus, you know, I'm in the studio, 3 different studios in a night. And then I have to wake up at 6:00 a.m. for the movie call to be on the set. And that was just like too much. I did that for 3 weeks straight. And, you know, I really got burnt out. And that was like too much.
You know, Curtis, a lot of people sometimes, you know, some of the younger generation doesn't get along with the older generation.
Right.
I feel like in hip-hop sometimes people want to push people out quicker.
Right.
I always say this. Barry Manilow is still touring. Nobody is going to his concert. No people are sitting around like, yo, get Barry Manilow. What has he done? He's not relevant. No. They go, they support, and they do that. In hip-hop, sometimes I feel like they want to push people out quicker. They don't want to make them as relevant. Meanwhile, while I believe, that's why I'm excited for this museum, because, you know, we should always appreciate, value, and learn from our elder statesmen. You know, somebody listening right now, young kid just getting in the game, or, you know, maybe, you know, hit a couple of bumps in the road from the, you know, the game, and really don't know where to turn. What's some advice you have for them?
Well, I think that you're totally right that the young kids of today need to be taught, if they don't know already, that your heroes and the people who paved the way for you, you should go back to them and say thank you.
Sure.
It's only right. And that was a big part of my thing for my career, like I was telling you, you know. So I had to go to James Brown and let him know, thank you. Thank you for what you did for us, you know. And Jimmy Castor was another one. He was another one of my heroes. He went to the High School of Music and Arts, and he lived like exactly a mile north of me. I lived 465 West 140th Street. He lived 465 West 160th Street. And this was the everything man. He played every instrument. He was Prince before Prince, right? Back in the 50s and 60s. So this guy, just studying him, study your heroes. Mm-hmm. Here is some great advice. Education, 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 research, practical study, classroom into the culture, and the culture into the classroom. And what I mean by that is education is simply the acquisition of information, research. Back in the days, we used to have to go to the library 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. Now you can ask Siri, YouTube tutorial. We live in a world of the Matrix. Everything is at our fingertips. You know what I mean? Just like Trinity can fly a helicopter in 5 minutes. You give me 24 hours and a YouTube tutorial, and I'm flying a helicopter.
Ah, man.
You know what I mean?
Probably
right.
So
we have all of this information at our fingertips, so we have no reason, no excuse for being naive or stupid, right? Because the information is there. Just ask Siri, right? Now, in your dreams of whatever you want to do in your life, whatever it is, doctor, lawyer, musician, rapper, study the history of that subject. Study the history of it and pick out within the history 1 or 2 people who made it successful. Study the steps they took to achieve their success. Follow repeat those steps. Repeat those same steps, and you too will achieve success. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Kurtis, let me tell you, man. You know, it's special. It's special to sit down with somebody with such wisdom, such history, such mileage. You know, do you also invest in anything? Do you have any advice for people who invest in anything? Do you have besides just making money on artistry? Do you have any investing tips or things that people should do?
I'll tell you this. Stem cells. If you can find out about stem cells and investing in stem cells, you'll be a millionaire, because it's the future of medicine. It's the future of it's like the how would you say, the Holy Grail, the fountain of youth. There it is. And stem cells is going to replace medicine in about 20, 30 years. I guarantee it. Look into it, man. Gosh, you want to save some lives? You want to add some years on your old folks' lives? Try stem cells. Look into that. Where
can people find you? Are you on? Do you mess with social media like that?
Yeah.
You're on Instagram?
Believe me, yes, all day, every day.
What are you on there?
Kurtis Blow.
Straight up
on Instagram. Straight up.
Kurtis Blow on Twitter.
No, Kurtis Blow and the number 1 on Twitter.
Okay.
And then Kurtis Blow on Facebook.
Okay.
And Kurtis Blow Walker. My real name is Walker. My government name.
Okay.
So Kurtis Blow Walker. I got a few of those pages.
You're
on
all
Facebook.
over the place.
Yes.
Listen, like I definitely wanted to. Damn, they blowing you up like they want money from you, man. Tell them to call you back later, Kurtis. Tell them these are the breaks. Internets, listen, the one and only, the legendary, and I look so forward to his involvement with this hip hop museum being built out in the next couple of years in the Bronx.
Yes.
Okay. Kurtis Blow, thank you. Okay?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Premium Peach.
CHEA. Internets, if you enjoyed that episode, I want you to email me at thepremiumpeachshow@gmail.com. Again, that's email is thepremiumpeachshow@gmail.com. Let me know what you thought. And listen, all my advertisers out there, all my big businesses, my small businesses, whoever, a friend, a store, you want to advertise on the Premium Pete Show? Email me at thepremiumpeachshow@gmail.com, and let's get working. Okay? Make sure you subscribe, rate, leave a comment on all streaming platforms of the podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we'll see you next episode. CHEA.